Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a County of Madera Cal ID Remote Access Network Board, also known as RAN. And the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody stand and join me. Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, thank you. Moving on, additions to the agenda, and I believe we have an addition to the agenda.
So I don't know if it's considered an addition, but we do need to give Director Palmer the oath of office. She was appointed to the RAN board by the City Selection Committee.
Okay, I told her she'd have to swear today, so I think she's been practicing, so.
Yeah.
Shall we have this ceremony in front, or where would you like to swear?
I can read and she can respond if
Just
she wants.
remotely. Well, this is a RAN meeting, right? Okay.
And Chairman, I would recommend that there is still a 2/3 vote for that additional item, just the swearing in. It came in after the agenda was posted, so you might as well take a vote to add it and then
Okay.
do the oath.
So we would add, we would make it a separate agenda item, and then we would do the oath of office at that time.
Yes,
Okay,
We need a motion.
yes.
I second.
okay. We have a motion and a second to add the oath of office for Diana Palmer. In the public session, I suppose it would be item 4.4? Is that
Chairman's choice.
Chairman's choice? 4.4, there you go. Jerry West, 44. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now you get to practice more. So,
However, I'd like to give you some input on that. If you make it 4.4, then she can't discuss and participate in 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. So,
well, if we made it 4.0A,
yes.
okay, 4.08. All right. Well, first of all, let's go to public comment. And first 15 minutes of the board are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board not appearing on the agenda. Is there anybody here who would like to address the board under that definition?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Mike Gonzalez, DLC Madera. Just I had a meeting downtown at 1:30 today, or 1 o'clock today, and then received an email from a company called Thales. I don't know if the RAN board had got an email from them, but it appears that Thales has absorbed Gemalto. So, with that said, I had a conversation, and they referred to me as Scott, and there's not a very many people that know me as Scott, so.
Somebody who really knows you.
Yeah, kind of scared me a little bit, but anyway, I talked to a lady by the name of Katina Carranza. She is the support maintenance technical service supervisor for this Thales company. And it appears to me that some of the folks that, up through our conversation, there may be some folks that we have been dealing with, Corey Kennedy possibly, Eric Matthews being one that's no longer associated with the company. I don't know if Corey Kennedy, she didn't mention Corey Kennedy anymore. So that would be something that the RAN board would have to, I would suggest we look at and see where we're at. They do have a manager, and I have the email here, I printed it out to present to the board so that they'll have that if they choose to contact this young lady for any additional information. They do not at this particular time have a service contract project manager assigned to whatever discussions Madera County's been having with the maintenance agreement and all the other updates that the RAN board is looking at doing for the county. So I just wanted to make sure that the RAN board knew about that, and I have the contact information for her. I can give it to Rhonda and go from there. I did ask her if she had any information on the current conversations that she's had that Gemalto was having with county, and she was not able to answer that. She had no additional information to offer us at that time.
Okay, so
Okay.
I have an email that's come in since we've actually been sitting here from Corey, and he's under it says he's the regional sales manager, state and local government for Thales.
So I guess should we go ahead and assume that if we approve these maintenance agreements today, which we need to do, in my opinion, just because it's creating some issues, some things that Jamal Totalis, Scott, Mike Gonzo, whoever it is that's working on this is not able to help us because they're not under contract. Do we move forward with, I guess it's a question really for Wiley or Regina, do we move forward with approving or if we move forward and approve the items that are on the agenda, is that the best course of action? I really, it would be bad for us to wait again because history is Gemalto, Cogent, 3M, whoever has been, this is like the fourth or fifth company that's bought it since we've been involved. And I'm just wondering from a legal standpoint, are we better off approving what we have on the agenda? And then if we need to alter it because of the acquisition by the company by a second company, we come back and redo? Or does county council have a suggestion there?
I think Rhonda wants to speak first. Go ahead.
I was just pointing out that on the agenda, we're not approving anything. It's presentations only for information.
And that is problematic, and that would be my Brown Act answer, is there's nothing on the agenda that has been published for approval. We were waiting for the final contracts to come at the close of business yesterday.
Correct.
And with the acquisition of, it looks like one company to the other, it looks like we're going to have to wait a bit longer. But what I'm hearing is that we don't have any maintenance. There's nobody that's going to be able to come and service.
Yeah, so the long-term thing here is previous members of the RAM board and some of the current members of the RAM board felt like the costs that Cogent put forth were, I'll say, ridiculously high. I mean, more than the cost of replacing a whole machine. So for a few years, we have not had a maintenance agreement. And what's happening now is the portion of the system that's the APHIS, not the live scan side. There's kind of two major components here. The APHIS side, that computer is what the majority of the budget item that's going to be presented is to replace. And what happens is when we scan some fingerprints, if they aren't of an APHIS quality, they get kicked back. And in the old days, then it was Josie and Josie from the PD, not Josie, excuse me, Josie from the SO, not Josie from the PD, would look at those and resubmit them after, because she was trained in that, after looking at them and say, no, these are good enough quality to submit. Well, what happens now is they get kicked back and they go into limbo, and we don't know, that they get kicked back. And then how we find out is a customer comes in and goes, hey, I got live scan 3 months ago and I never heard anything. For a while, Cogent would go in and look at them and then forward them to DOJ on behalf of these people. Now, since we don't have a service contract, nor have we had, I think this will be the end of the third fiscal year. If this isn't eventually approved, they won't do that. The service people are very nice and they say this is doable, but you have to talk to your salesperson. And then today, Mike got the email about them being bought out, and then I think all of us on the board just got this email literally as we're sitting here.
Just to add a little bit more, I did ask her that Madera County Council may have, or their higher-ups may have a problem with what was discussed in the scope of work, even in the maintenance agreement. And she seemed to agree. She couldn't offer an answer for that. So she said that she would try to escalate my request to apply a point of contact for us so that we can make contact so those discussions can be addressed. But
yes.
She couldn't answer me today.
So I could have got us offline here because we're not really approving anything today, but it sounds like we
And
just
we're in
need.
public comment portion.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll wait and hold the rest of my comments until the items come up.
Very good. Thank you, Mike, AKA Scotty.
Last public comment ever.
All right. Whoever. And any other public comments? If not, let's go. Oh, yes.
Hi, members of the board. I wanted to introduce Wiley Driscoll. He's a deputy county counsel. As some of you have been working with Mary Binning, and Mary Binning has been working with the RAND board for several years. She took an in-house position with the city of Orange, so not to a competitor law firm, I'm happy to report. However, her last day was the end of last month, and so Wiley is who we're recommending to this board. He works with our law enforcement side of the house and is familiar, and so this is Wiley. And we have a full board, so I'm not sure where you will ever want him to sit, but he's going to be the guy to answer the Brown Act questions, and we'll park it right here or wherever you want. But this is Wiley.
Wiley, welcome.
Board members, I know some of you, but I look forward to working with the rest of you and going forward from here. Appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, let's go to item 4.08, the swearing-in ceremony.
Okay. Director Palmer, I state your name,
I, Diana Palmer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of California,
and the Constitution of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will and faithfully will discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Diana, would you like to say a few words, maybe your background in terms of, because there might be a few folks that you don't know and maybe don't know you, and I
Okay.
think it'd be good that they know you.
My name is Diana Palmer. I am currently on the Chowchilla City Council. As far as law enforcement background, I've only been involved through marriage, but for about 24 years now. My husband, Jeff Palmer, I know Sheriff Barney very well, Chief Dave Revere.
I'm short. I'm the guy over there.
He's our counsel today.
Yeah. I have two grown boys, 18 and 20. I own and operate a business in Chowchilla, and I am happy to serve.
Very good. Great having you here.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to item 4.1. This is a discussion, or I'm sorry, consideration of approval of minutes for January 30th, 2019. I'll accept a motion for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 30th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carried. Item 4.2, discussion and direction to staff regarding the Madera County AFIS upgrade project. Tanya, is that you? Okay, very good.
Good afternoon, Tanya Say, Chief Information Officer for the County of Madera. On January 30th, we came to this meeting, and what we understood our instructions to be were to go back and to create a user group that would be using the AFIS system, and to review the statement of work that was provided by the vendor, Gemalto at the time, and to see what recommendations we could have, and to come up with a plan to make sure that the statement of work and the contract were appropriate to move forward. So we have had 3 meetings with the business level user work group. We did invite City of Chowchilla, City of Madera, and from the county we had representatives from the Sheriff's Office, Department of Corrections, Probation, and we came up with a list of, we asked the user group to identify what they saw as was missing elements from the statement of work. One of them was the transaction types. We needed to make sure that those were updated to include everything that everybody was expecting. And then we had items such as the pricing summary was a lump sum instead of separating out what each item was, which was problematic. And amongst other things, we did include the list here. Some of the notable issues with from the technology standpoint was that there were inconsistencies between what was in the underlying agreement versus what was in the contract, such as we would be doing certain updates, and then the underlying agreement said that if you do updates, then you avoid your warranty. So we had some inconsistencies there that needed to be worked out. We did meet with county council on a couple different times, and we met with the vendor 3 times, that might have been 4 by now, and they were supposed to provide us with an updated agreement by today, or yesterday. And of course, we did not receive that, and maybe now we kind of understand a little bit why. One of the items that we did ask for was in the contract that we had before, that was before your board on January 30th, included the catch-up that the sheriff was referring to, the catch-up on the maintenance agreements. And what we did request that the vendor do was to separate out the maintenance agreements for the live scan equipment, which is what I believe that Sheriff Arney is referencing, the equipment that we had, that we do need to catch up on those maintenance agreements, and then separate out the maintenance agreement for the APHIS, because as Sheriff Arney said, those are 2 distinct, different types of maintenance agreements. So we did request that that was also done in this updated contract that was to be provided to us by yesterday. So that is where we are at.
I have a question for Brian. Brian, unless somebody else forwarded this, we literally got this email while we were sitting here, which has a wry bit of irony to it. It seems like that's how we get communications from Cogent on a regular basis, not just in the nick of time. I doubt that you have, but since they didn't provide anything yesterday for today's meeting, do you have any idea when they might be ready to provide something for us so the board can consider it? Because I think staff did exactly what we asked you to do. We appreciate the work that you guys did, and I think the project as outlined now is much better than just a big, here's what we're doing, here's the price, pay it all. So I think it's better both for the IT side and for the users. So again, I appreciate the work that the group did, but do you have any feeling for when they might actually come forth with what we need so that we can consider to accept or not?
Unfortunately, at this point, I don't have a clear understanding of when they plan on getting it to us. We're waiting on 3 documents. It's the red line information for the hardware and software maintenance and support agreement, the red line for the hardware sale and software license agreement, and the updated statement of work. So the statement of work pertains to the majority of technical components, and then the prior 2 documents pertain to the legal components of what our engagement's going to look like and how we will be contractually obligated from here on out. Speaking to the attorneys, they were confident that they would have them to me by close of business yesterday, but that would only be a document that we could then review and go back to council and ultimately solidify to ensure that our county is protected and the board is protected moving forward. Corey Kennedy also indicated that he'd have no problem getting his updated statement of work to me yesterday by close of business. I have since emailed him. It was approximately midday today. I heard nothing back except for the same email that the board received, and that they were absorbed by another company. Unfortunately, they haven't met a deadline that we've asked. When I worked with them, we were pretty diligent in getting them the information requested. However, when we stated, hey, we're going to be meeting on this date, and inform them that we would like to actually have recommendations for this date, we worked very hard to get not just red lines, but the complete package done and signed and agreed upon. And that was not met. It took them approximately 2 weeks to even contact me to speak with Dale, and that was a significant amount of time lost. And that happened throughout this entire engagement. So for the last 90 days, we met as stakeholders, we brought information back to Gemalto, and they just never got back to us in a timely fashion. So I will continue to put the pressure on them. However, to give you an accurate estimate, I can only go off past behavior, and that I think we should be not patient, but I think we're going to be waiting a little bit.
So I have a follow-up question, and I don't mean to put you and Bruce and Patrick on the spot, but historically, both for yourselves and for the board and anybody who's actually watching this, this has been kind of the way it's been since 2008, I think, was when this board was formed. I've been on it the entire time. And so some of the times in the past it has been this board's fault because we haven't had the amount of money necessary to push forward the segment of the project in front of us. And part of it is apparently $500,000 doesn't mean anything to this company. They have much bigger projects to work on. our concern all along has been, as is probably a concern for you in the other systems and other software-based things that you work with, when we start mixing different vendors' products together, if they don't mesh seamlessly, you get the finger pointing where we get the discussion of, no, it's them, and then that puts our staff, meaning you folks, in a really bad spot because, you know, is it the opinion of staff that we should, you know, and again, I apologize for not like giving you any prep on this. Is it the opinion of staff that we should continue to with this project, with this vendor, or since, you know, again, we failed to meet another deadline, we've been working on this for a year, should we look out at other vendors for this product? The issue being that it is almost a monopoly in this particular type of product. There are a few other vendors out there, but they're not nearly as widely spread as Cogent and all of its names after that are. So I'm looking more for just an opinion, not a conclusion from any of the three of you, or even from Tanya, but I think since you guys are more tight to the user side of it, I'd appreciate it if you have anything to add.
I think that's a great question, and one which we've asked ourselves. Commander Majeski and I actually had a very pointed discussion surrounding this, in that there is another company, I believe the name is Identex, that offers these services. The commander met or spoke with some of the user groups outside of our county, other counties that use their technology, and I'm uncertain of the feedback. He may have further information surrounding that. However, we did contact them, or Commander Majeski did contact Identex to try to start an engagement with them and look into developing a relationship and perhaps even creating a statement of work. I do not believe to date he's been contacted back. That's the information I've been given. I will say that the work that's been done, I do believe we're incredibly close to getting this solidified. And as far as my opinion, I think that they do have a monopoly. I think it puts us in a very hard place, and I think our lack of support contract places heavy risk on where we sit today. My ultimate opinion would be, because we weren't contacted back by a competitor, that we continue down this path and get this contract closed as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, Patrick or Bruce, do you guys have anything to add to that? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Brian said in regards to reaching out to Identex. I attempted to call, email, filled out any form I could find to try to get a hold of somebody to speak to in regards to this company, and I had zero response.
Okay.
So it's kind of goes back to Gemalto, the same thing. It's, I don't know if they just don't want to engage in another, you know, sell, or I'm not sure.
The fingerprint business is really good right now. So, okay, well, I appreciate the input from staff and appreciate the report. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So, any other questions, comments, conclusions? It sounds like what we're going to do is continue down this road and continue to look to make contacts. Manuel, would you like to?
Yes, sir. What I want to mention is the information we just received. It was interesting how they reached out to us, referring to the new company. The chief is correct about previous years, we were getting any response when we were having issues. I'd like for us to stay a little bit more aggressive with this new company coming on board, not give them the opportunity of pushing Madera County off to the side like we always felt in the past. So now that they're reaching out to us, I'd like to definitely stay engaged with them so that we can let them know that we are very interested in the product. I'm very familiar with Identex in previous years on why we changed. But one of my concerns is when we're looking for another vendor would be, we just purchased new equipment for all our agencies. And I hate to take a step backwards without giving this new company the opportunity to get engaged with Madera. And my hopes is they understand what we've been dealing with, and with a lot of the legwork being done, they should be ahead of the curve on getting something back to us. And I'm hoping they'll even maybe put in writing that they'll honor the previous company on what we push forward, what we try to get with the previous company. Most companies, when they take over the accounts, that's how they do business. They'll honor what's been going on in place. So I'm hoping with that direction, we move forward, make contact with the new company, let them know we're very close on doing business, and we definitely don't want to drag this long. It has been too long.
Yes, counsel.
Yeah, and I would add, the comments and the recommended changes to the agreement weren't onerous. They were technical from feedback, and so we weren't telling them to give us any leg up on them or anything like that. The documents that they gave us were old, and they recognized that they were old and they were problematic, even just language that was outdated. And so a lot of it was cleanup and a lot of it was technical to what we needed, but nothing that we had to fight with them on in terms of negotiations of a contract. And so it was really that sort of type of negotiation. So as long as, like you say, the new company comes on board and sees a package that's ready to deliver, maybe we'll make some good headway.
And with that, I would like to say that if it is the direction of your board for us to stay involved in this process, then we will, information technology, we will stay involved in the process and get us through that point to get to that contract.
I believe that's the direction of the board. Do we have to take a vote or just a consensus? Okay, every thumbs up? Okay, good. Okay. There you go. Got direction. Thank you.
We were kind of laughing before we came down here. We said, we want that signed contract and we want this project completed as soon as possible. Like, believe me, we really want this to be summed
I
up.
bet you do. Very good. Thank you so much. And then on the heels of that, we have item 4.3. It's a regarding direction of staff for the fiscal year 18-19 budget and the fiscal year 19-20 budget.
So last week on Wednesday or Thursday, Rhonda had asked for a budget, on Wednesday probably, had asked for a budget update. So I went ahead, I spoke somewhat with Commander Majeski and with Michael Gonzalez about the budget process. And so I was a little bit uncertain on how that whole process works. So what I did was gave an update basically on looking at that project from what was included in last year's budget. I think there was an amount of $375,000. And what I tried to do is, based on what our research had shown and what we've kind of learned from diving into this project, that there's going to be some other expenses that weren't included, like the $372,000 was for the APHIS equipment. Included in here as well now is the for the 18-19, which will extend, I understand, into 19-20, but there will be the maintenance agreements, which the sheriff had referred to, bringing those all up to date, as well as the some of the other costs, such as when I went back after reviewing and looking at seeing where the RAND board had been over all these years, when we reviewed one of the MOUs, the initiating MOU, as well as the JPA that was adopted last March, there were they were kind of surprises to us a little bit, in that, for example, in the MOU, it's Madera County's responsibility to provide us secure lines to the county APHIS server, and the state of California APHIS database, so we need to do some work on that. So that's why I put the secured connection costs. There's going to be some costs involved with that, or projected, we're thinking there's going to be some costs involved with that, as well as the, within the statement of work, the Gemalto, or the famous statement of work now, there is a line item for an IT, for prepping the IT data center, per the statement of work, as well as the IT lead time. There was a project role in there called the IT lead time under the customer roles and responsibilities. So I just wanted to put the board on alert that those were some costs that could be coming. What I would suggest we do, what my recommendation would be, in the next few weeks, as we're trying to iron out this contract, if we could continue with the user group having some input into what those costs are and how to fairly allocate those costs, then I think that gives a broader viewpoint and that everybody's represented, the city of Madera, the city of Chowchilla, as well as the county. So that would be the 1819. Moving into 1920, I also went back and looked to see that there was a strategic plan in place that was adopted in 2016, where the first item was to, I believe, to replace the IFAS, the AFIS equipment. Was that the first? No, it was to replace the, phase one was to replace the live scan devices, which was done in 2015 and 2016. Phase two was to create, or to get the maintenance agreements in line, which that's currently moving forward. Phase three was to get the AFIS hardware and software in alignment, and that's what we're working on right now. Then phase four, which is what I continued for the 1920 budget, was to add the mobile devices, the blue check devices, because the contract includes one blue check device. So based on what the vendor told us, we estimated that the hardware was going to be $600 to $700 per blue check device. The user group said we'd need about 90. We'll have to work through that, but I put 90 in the budget, as well as we don't know what the cost of the software or the license is for that blue check. Since the pricing was all in a lump sum, we have no idea what the license is, so we'll have to find that out from the vendor as well. And the previous vendor was supposed to be getting that, but we'll have to work through those costs. So I wanted to put the board on alert that in 1920, if you do want to move to phase four, which I'm thinking from the user group really wants to move to phase four, then there would be those associated costs as well as maintenance costs in the future years.
Okay, very good. Any questions, Tanya?
No. Appreciate the report, though.
Okay, and so direction would be to continue on with the user group and discuss some more details regarding the budget and future appropriations that might be necessary.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Rhonda a question? So do you still need a finalized 1920 budget from this board to submit to the Board of Supervisors?
We've kind of been lax on that in the past, but if we can get an amended budget, perhaps, for the 1819, are we talking of that?
Well, actually, I was thinking ahead to 1920.
So we're not having our budget hearings until June, and just so long as we can have, if it's possible to have it before our budget hearings, that's great. If not, in the past, I've noticed that the board has approved the budget closer to, in the fall.
Right. My preference, I guess, would be mostly for staff is certainly we hope this vendor will get back with us by May with what we want to get done this budget year, and if we have to do an amendment to 1819 to true it up, we should do that in May. But I think what the staff folks have presented to us is close enough to what we want to get done that it wouldn't take very much. I mean, they're just waiting on the vendor to get final numbers to give us what we need for 1920, so perhaps we could do that as an agenda item at a meeting in May.
I agree. I think if we can get it done and to the Board of Supervisors by the end of June 30th, at the end of the fiscal year, then we'll be in line with the statute that requires us to then send it to the state. And that's what we've been working on over the years with this board. And so the timing, like you say, Sheriff, in terms of finalizing the contract, using the user group, getting a budget, I'm not quite sure that we'll evaluate, amend the 1819, but maybe we just look forward to the 1920. Get it in front of this board and then in front of the Board of Supervisors and to the state by the end of the fiscal year, beginning of the new one. Because last year was adopted in October, and I think we're doing the catch up and can hit the target this year.
Plus, the vendor is technically new, so it'd be a great time to get it on the right track.
Correct.
And realistically, I don't think there's going to be any expenditures in 1819 anyways, because we don't even have a contract yet. Who in the past has created that budget? Was that?
In the past, it's been the RAND board gave us direction how to do that. And simply what we did is we would take a wish list, if you will, and that's when we made up the expenditures.
Oh, Mike, could you get the microphone right there? That'd be great, thank you. Or up there, yeah. What you have to say is uber important. Most people, I wouldn't matter, but whenever you talk, we need to hear what it is.
Yeah, in the past, it was really simple. When we first started the RAND board back when we were doing it, it was a group of the end users, and then we would submit a list of what items we would like, and then we, back then it was Cogent that would give us the price. They'd come up with a proposal for the list of equipment that each agency end user wanted to use, and then we would use that to, we would work with the auditor's office to get our total, what was anticipated revenue to come in, and then we would formulate our budget in that manner. But as the RAND board grew, we've had some problems in the past, like we were saying, with coming up with a budget, encumbering money, and that's been our challenges for the last few years, working with the auditor's office. We were always behind the 8 ball there, coming up with the figures and encumbering the money to the point of almost losing the money. So we just want to do everything we can to avert that. If we can get the money encumbered, and I think that's what Rhonda and I were talking about, is we need to come up and get that money encumbered, whether we're okay for 18-19 or 19-20. As soon as that budget is approved, then we need to get that money encumbered so that we can set that aside and get it ready for the reports that are going to be coming up that the auditor's office is going to need to do. That's always been our challenge. So it seems to me like we're heading the right way. We're getting that sorted out and we're getting that straightened out so that we can stay ahead of the curve and get ready for some new equipment. I will say that the conversations I had with this new group, it does intend to, she showed a good sign reaching out. We just wanted to let you know that this is what's happening. So I agree with all the comments that I think we might smooth things out and initiate those contacts. So I think everything will be sorted out eventually here.
So I think the context of Tanya's question is who's going to actually physically produce this, or is DOC going to do that again, or do you want us to do it, or?
If that's what the board directs, I have no problem working with the auditor's office and Rhonda and getting that put together once we get all the information. And it's going to take a lot of cooperation to get all those numbers, so that we can do that, so we don't fall into the same.
In order to get the numbers, is that something that would maybe the user group could work together to coordinate, and then once you got the numbers, you could run?
It looks to me like the user group has already got a majority of the numbers that we're going to use.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with the board, Patrick said the user group, we have a business office. This isn't that extensive of a budget. It's about a page and a half when it's done. And since he's going to have, he or Brian or Tanya or even Bruce are going to have first access to the best numbers, I think I will volunteer the sheriff's office to take on doing that budget for the 1920. And then I guess at the point where we know if we need to true up the 18-19 budget, well, we'd be happy to fix that one too if it's needed.
Thank you very much. Everybody good with that? Okay, good.
The business office, here's the bus coming, so.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on to item 5, members and staff reports. Are there any reports from commissioners, members?
I just have one request. The email we received, Rhonda, didn't go to all the members of the board. Can you make sure that it goes to, the email that came in from Corey didn't go to all the board members? So if you could just, at your pleasure, get it out to everybody.
I didn't receive it either, so
Okay.
if you want to forward
Right,
it,
I'll
get
forward
out
it
to
to you right
everyone.
after the meeting, sorry.
Just you're one of the select few.
I guess.
Right.
And then in that select few case, Commander Pogue is at the FBI National Academy, so if we schedule a May meeting, I'd appreciate any consideration you give so that I can be here, because obviously he can't be, unless we make him tune in remotely after hours. So, thank you.
Very good. And so in regards to that, the next meeting, I guess,
The regularly scheduled meeting is May 22nd. That's your fourth Wednesday of the month.
okay. So the sheriff is furiously opening up his calendar to see if he can make it.
I think I can be here for that. There's a legislative day in Sacramento, but hopefully by then the one measure we don't like will be defeated and I can skip that to come here.
Gee, I wonder what measure that would be. Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, very good. The 22nd, and if there's nothing else, and nothing else from the public, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would quit dominating